Good morning again, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing another video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know. I want to talk a little bit about philosophy. I know, it's a dry subject. People don't commonly discuss this anymore. It's thought to be arbitrary. Some people don't believe in truth to begin with, and I'm not going to go into a deep dive, but I will talk about how it connects to something that you do care about: law enforcement. Would you believe that law enforcement is governed by philosophy? It is. No, it's true. It's true. I want to talk about the connection there. So, turns out every police problem, if you've ever heard about police problems, if you know anything about them, such as, abuse of power or brutality, police brutality, if you've heard of that one, corruption, police corruption, there are many, many cases and stories throughout history, and they all actually come from the same idea. It's a philosophical idea. Every single one of these problems can be traced back to a single philosophical point. And it's a point of confusion. So my point here is to disambiguate the confusion. And that point is these people, the police that do these things, or that become corrupt, who take bribes, who are brutal against people, and they stand by their brutality, they justify it to themselves and other people, they rationalize it. These people all are operating under the same principle, and that is that might makes right, that the gun decides who is right. This is a very common misconception, super common. In fact, it has been thought about for millennia, since the dawn of time probably. Might makes right. Have you heard this one? And it begs the question. I mean, I don't want to just rehash something that people are already familiar with. This is a pretty familiar idea. It begs the question, what does make right? If it's not the gun, what is the actual seat of power behind a law? And I don't want to go down that road either necessarily, because there's a lot of detail. It's a big subject. A law, again, in this conversation, what I'm referring to is the legal language that describes and guides prosecution of an injury that was outside of consent or contract, and that is actually a thing. So if I damage your property, if I'm even on your property, that damages your mental state, your sense of safety and peace, your personal space, as they say, that is considered trespassing, and it is a crime. But you'll find that every single crime, and this is a quick aside, every single crime boils down to some kind of damage outside of a contract. And I've said this in other videos. But so what makes right? What makes right? Well, there you have a consent, right? Agreement, some kind of agreement. Now, not just between individuals who are in society, civilians, as they are called among law enforcement people, but in a much bigger sense, the laws themselves and the power that governments and law enforcement people exercise is based on an agreement with the people themselves in the form of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence. The entire structure of the government, taxation, the entire thing is based on an agreement that the government is and will continue representing the people and providing services. And in the absence of those services, in the absence of representation, maybe you've heard this one too, no taxation without representation. Maybe that rings a bell. If you went through high school, you probably heard this. It was a famous thing that was said in the early days of the United States. No taxation without representation. And what that means is that we don't elect people for their own good. We don't pay governments and their agencies just so that they can, go through college and raise their kids in happiness and comfort. No, we don't do that. Actually, I know it sounds strange, right? But what a shock. No, you're supposed to be doing something. You're supposed to be approachable in some way, shape, or form. That is, public-facing agencies are supposed to have working contacts that you can call or email or whatever, and they actually, there should be an expectation of some kind of result or performance of service, avenues of appeal. Does any of this stuff ring a bell? Okay, well, again, I don't want to sprawl too far around, but I have recently tried to contact many, many government agencies, and I mean before the government shut down. I have tried to I've tried to write my congressman. I don't want to itemize every single thing, but I have never gotten any traction. Not once. It either gets bounced, or there's an error, or the person, it goes in a circle. And my point is, this is not even the problem. The problem is that there is zero representation. There is total corruption, as far as I can tell, and I don't have evidence beyond the fact that there are no services that I can access besides EBT, which has now also been canceled this month. So my goodness, what is the seat of power for our law enforcement agents, who are arguably the thin blue line between order and chaos? Now, I will admit that there will always be a call for legitimate law enforcement. There will always be a need to arrest people who are out of their minds for whatever reason. Maybe they got high, maybe they're crazy. There's gonna be a need to arrest people, and I've never once in any of my videos called for the abolition of law enforcement. I have nothing but the utmost respect for a properly run government and its officials and officers. However, I also believe that dissent is the highest form of patriotism when such is called for. When dissent is called for, it is the highest priority to get things reformed and back in a state of working order for the people, because the government is there for the people, of the people, and by the people. Maybe you heard this one too. Come on now. What do you see going on lately? You see a lot of scared people. You see a lot of scared civilians, and you see a lot of scared government people too, right? They're getting picked off. And it's because we have, for a very, very long time, been investing in the wrong things, investing in cowardly things, selfish things, refusing to accept and acknowledge the rest of the world, we being the US, and its people, that they are, at the very least, equally valid. That there's a coexistence. God bless America and no one else is the subtext there. Does this sound familiar? And this is still going on. This is still going on, 100%. Right now, in the government, there are, I'm going to say it, it looks like the U.S. government has been taken over by Nazis. Am I wrong? Prove me wrong. It looks like the Nazis kind of came back 80 years later after we kicked their ass out of Germany, and they just regrouped. And I think we've heard something about this. We heard about, the reason for creating NATO, and the reason for a lot of things, preparation, the actual, history that we keep for the Holocaust and the people who describe it and remember it. And I feel like the Nazis just want to make a comeback at this point. It looks like they have taken over the budgets. They have taken over administration. They have taken over law enforcement. And here's the problem. Do you see a lot of threats and scare tactics? Do you see anything reminiscent of the times? I realize not a lot of people are still alive who were alive back then, but based on things you've heard and seen about World War II and the Nazi era in Germany, we're not getting further away from it. We're getting much closer every day. Look at ICE agents. What's happening? People are being denied the ability to even remain silent. I've seen videos of people being told that they are being detained, and therefore all of their rights have been surrendered. They have no rights. They have no options. They will do exactly what they're told as they are told. Okay, I'm sorry, that has never flown in this country. That is in stark contradiction to the actual principles, the founding principles of the United States of America. I will say this one last time. Dissent is the highest form of patriotism when it is called for. And it is absolutely called for right now. So if you're a thoughtful person, if you enjoy freedom, if you enjoy not being assumed that you're guilty before you're innocent, and if you enjoy not being abused by authorities, you should probably think about what you're doing right about now. Things are getting kind of interesting. May you live in interesting times as a mixed blessing. Reach out if you like with questions or comments to whitehotrobot@gmail.com. Thank you.